one. So you have about 20 students in the class. Ganina, I'm counting, we are like 18 or 17. So we still have two more to go. So ang grouping will be triad. So Abunda, Justine, Alarcon, Arima will be one group. Bokingo, Fuentes, Gacasan will be another group. Gaston, Haji, and Ho, another group. Mondihar, Nale, Evidencio be another group. Santos, Tangkos, Trajano, another. Travilla, Tumarong, and Tuting will be another group. And Uy and Villanueva, one more group. Sorry, kulang dito, no? Lord, like, nay nadugang sa class? Or mo na ni siyang 20? Or nabay nag-transfer? Can you inform me? Walay nag-transfer? Walay nag-transfer?
Wala na naman.
Okay, so kung wala si Uy Lim, you can join the last group of Travilla, Tumarong, and Tuting. And Villanueva, Anton, you go to Abunda, Alarcon, and Arimao na group. So Arimao, Alarcon, Abunda, you will have Villanueva, so upat mo, and then Tuting, Tumarong, Travilla will have to include Uy, Bastian, or JB, and the group. Kirang ba na? Kay para ma-balance lang.
Okay ra, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, thank you for that. So, we'll have groups nga tulo ka member and I groups nga apat ka member. So, I'm gonna share to you later on the folder or the link where you can work. So, na may assign nga grouping. So far, kung katong grouping akong tan-awon, so we'll have about 18 ka groups by 3. Supposedly 21/7. So, mga 6 group lang siguro, 6 by 3. So, you have 18. So, 6 ka locations for the analysis of your data. So, gahapon na section, they have 9 groups. Kanina sa morning, they have 10 groups. And this afternoon, you have 8 groups. So, the grouping will be assigned with respect to folders sa usa ka area. And I'll explain that later on.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Neil.
Mag-record na ko, ma'am.
Neil?
Mag-record na ko, ma'am, or nag-record na ko.
Mag-start na tag-record niya. Thank you. Okay, so allow me to share the PowerPoint na dayon. Okay, so lesson number 3. Sige, so for the information of everybody, nag-start na kog open sa SLMIS nako, so you can start you can start checking on your e-learn for the lessons, labi na sa lesson 1 to lesson 4 this week and last week, so that you can at least review everything sa inyong class lesson. Okay, so nakita ng screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
kung ang akong sound is hinay, pagsaba lang ha. So you have lesson 26, lesson CE 26 for lesson 3, that is transportation systems and road elements. Last meeting, we discussed about infrastructure and planning, energy, and related to the applications of systems will expand to road elements. So we made mention that on the planning side, we usually have a stepwise method to look at transportation engineering as a huge investment and huge infrastructure system application. So we need to look at very thoroughly the transportation planning side. So we'll start with mission, vision, and goal, review of existing condition up to systems performance and monitoring. We know that it's a cyclic application. So when we start with the mission, vision, or goal, we kind of end with monitoring performance and then go back again to mission, vision, and goal. So it's a cycle of reviewing every projects, every programs that are being invested for transportation engineering application for our community. We know also that when we talk about transportation planning, we have factors to consider, namely the demand side, the supply, and then we know fully that demand comes from the road users, be it private or public, and then we have also the supply, be it infrastructure or systems or program application. And in between, the ones who's handling the supply side for the demand is actually the planners, who are the engineers, the government officials, processors, enforcers, and the professionals and other professionals. And then we know that when we talk about systems, we are actually discussing also the relationship of the system being part of our understanding for the the infrastructure application for supply. Supply being the infrastructure, the locations and flows, and that is determined by the nodes and demands and networks so that atong core na recipient, which is ang road user, ang mga logistics requirement and freight, and even information will be delivered for the intended demand against the supply um, item. So for example, if you look at systems, systems again has a connectivity between nodes and demand, and that's location. In terms of demand and networks, it's related to infrastructure. And in terms of networks and nodes, it's about flow. So the overall relationship is actually important so that we can facilitate the movements of our core item, passenger, commuters, freights, and information, etc., either as a separate unit or a component of a given unit. And then we also made mention that transportation has different types of modes, but mainly we have two types. You have motorized, driven by engine and fuel. Non-motorized, it's actually manual or maybe human application of transportation. And then of course we classify this according to a group, which is active transport, public and private transport. And by different modes, we talk about land, air, water application, railway, pipelines, and multimodal application. So in the Philippines, when we move further in terms of transportation, we do not only talk about the provisions of the vehicle as a means to movement, but also the access, which is the road network. So the road network would actually have the roadway and etc. But of course, when we talk about transportation, we talk about active, public, private, and other modes, which are very localized to our setting. Say, for example, in public transport, we have the jeepney, we have the multi-cab, and then we have motorellas and pedicabs or tricycle, which are not really prominent in other countries, but is more prominent in a localized setting like Cagayan de Oro. And of course, we know that by road classification, we have a road hierarchy, mainly Maharlika Highway, and then we have expressways and tollways. We have regional highways that connects region, provincial highways that connects province, and provincial link roads which connect province to province commuting. We also have city roads, or we have avenue and boulevard, and we have streets and then barangay roads. Those are the classifications in the Philippines. And then we talk about roadway facility. We know fully that the roadway facility is defined by the road right of way, or RROW. And this road right of way includes the travel lane, the median, the bicycle lane if there's allocations of cycling area, the clear zone. This is the clear zone, or an open strip of a space to demarcate the travel lane from the actual sidewalk for the pedestrian. So then also we do have the sidewalk. So across section, you can see that we have an island being the median in the center. And that's the usual case of road facility. But road facility is also classified into two types. You have rural and then urban. So usually in rural areas, we have median, maybe divided median with vegetative space in the middle, so that this is a really open space for the median. The travel lane is on each side, and then also you have the shoulder, that's S, shoulder, and then the guardrail, and then after the guardrail is the side slope. So this is an example of that, no? Kaya lang yung median is not an open space, but rather just a line marking on the road center line. But nevertheless, this is the travel lane. You have the shoulder, and then you have the side slope, and then of course the guardrail. In a typical section, that's very very particular kay wala lagi kay middle median nga space. So the road center line, this white line marker in the middle, serves as your median. And of course, you still have the sidewalk, side slope, and then the shoulder. Ninhi lang niya kang shoulder kay naapil na sa shrubbery, no? But then he kay clear kang area, and that will be used for refuge for moving motorists on the road. Okay. In a city urban structure, we do not have the shoulder, rather we have the travel lane, and then the median can be an island in the middle so that crossing pedestrian can rest from the sidewalk towards the median island and then move to the other side of the road. So this is just a demarcation line sa right boundary between any residential area and commercial area na property from the property of the road right of way. Now, usually also we have on this case, the drainage area will not be the side slope, but rather we will have the curb and gutter. So this is a very typical example of that. We have like in Ketkay, we have islands in the middle, or we have a clear zone area, manay mga trees. Okay. And then somehow in our case sa Cagayan, we do not have cycling area because we appropriate give priority to road, motorists on the road, and cyclists on the sidewalk together with walking pedestrian. So that is usually the case when you have cities na gamay og dalan. So this is an example in Tokyo downtown wherein the white line marker is the boundary of the travel lane, and ang iyaha galing sidewalk is not elevated kay naa na mga property lines alongside the road. This is the case when you do not plan correctly, or you do not anticipate development of a city to become a big huge metropolis kay kanimo kay karaan nga dalan sa karaan kay nga area. So this is an example of Consolacion Village in Cagayan. That's a very old city streets in the old town of Cagayan. Unlike Makasandig and Nazareth, na improve man siya in terms of the roadway with a sidewalk, but in Consolacion area, we do not have that allocation because it's a very old street. Now, for old streets preparations, so to a new modern setup, we can allocate or earmark parking area on the road if napay space. Pag wala, for example, sa Divisoria, because we cannot have this kind of bay area for parking. What we have is on-street parking instead, which means that some lanes are utilized for parking, and so therefore the travel lane is already reduced because of the parked vehicle. And then we discuss in particular the road cross-section elements. So you have the road right of way, the roadway or the traveled way, then you have the shoulder, in this case for rural area. Then you have the side slope, and then you have the entirety of the roadway as ROW limit. Okay, so let's start with the travel lane. In an area where the center line is the median, and you have that marked as a yellow line on the road, normally the travel lane is the area where from the median you have equal distance of lanes across each side, left and right. So that's travel lane because it's an area for the general motorist that has a vehicle, no? So this is for the traveling. Usually, traveling is dedicated for vehicular traffic. The lane width is between 2.7 meter to 3.6 meter. And for two-way nga rural road, you can have that as 3 to 3.3. Nang dako man sa rural ma'am. Because in rural areas, you're expecting trucks and trailers, buses, no? So the roads are wider even if rural roads yung area. And then you have lane width in urban areas, labi na kung low ra ka ang volume of traffic, so gamay ra. Ang pinaka-minimum requirement for the lane is 2.7 meters. So that's the one here, on the lower limit of the value. So for areas nga 2.7 meters, usually kanang small cars lang siya on opposing direction ang pwede nimo ihatod sa dalan, no? Kay gagmay man na siya, residential and low urban areas with low volume of traffic. Now, in rural areas, you do have this shoulder. This is the shoulder. No? So, shoulders are contiguous or alongside a traveling. Abay na sanduha, silingan. They are used for vehicles to stop or area for vehicles to stop when necessary. Let's say, nandautan, matulog ang driver, na ay aksidente, or na ay tawagan ang driver. So you can rest on the side of the road using the shoulder. Yung shoulders also by structure is used to support the entire pavement. So kung morning pavement sa imong travel lane, baga man na siya, no? So kung mag-vibrate na because of loading sa mga nanglabay nga sakyan ng tendency, mag-vibrate man ni siya. But it's a good thing na siya abay nga shoulder kay the vibration will be uh, distributed equally on each side of the road. So dili nang ma-burden sa load ang duha ka lane sa travel lane, but also the shoulder itself will support the entirety of the structure. So these are for load distribution for vehicular traffic on the road and in terms of the design of the pavement. Now, shoulders are sometimes used for pedestrian and cyclists if the road if the road has low volume at the same time, you do not have enough budget for the sidewalk per se for a rural community. So because it's rural nga road, so fully nga right after the travel lane na adain kay shoulder. So in this case, gilinyahan og white ang boundary sa travel lane and the shoulder so that shoulders can also be used for walking pedestrian and cyclists when it's necessary to utilize that shoulder for movement and mobility of active transport. So when we say active transport, it's just walking pedestrian and cyclists. So you can use the shoulder. Labi na kung mingaw kayo ang area sa road. And then of course, after sa shoulder, you then have the side slope. Side slope is basically for draining of water on the road. And then, of course, we go to the median. A while ago, I made mention that median are sometimes just pavement markings on the center line of the road, colored as white broken line, white solid line, yellow broken line, or yellow solid line. So median are divided into two types. You have the flush median and traversable median. So flush median is just really flush because it will slope down on each side of the lane. So ang purpose sa gidana is to drain water or snow to the side so that it will be directed towards the drainage. So you call it flush because it will slide down towards the outside of the travel lane, protecting your pavement kung may ulan, no? And so that's flush. Now, usually kung flush type ka, you have to have a median width na lapad-lapad na space for flushing of water to be accommodated. And sometimes, pwede po din siya gamiton as an area for, kaganina, I mentioned ako, when you need some space for allocation of refuge. Now, traversable lane are for median na traversable area, it would mean it is built as an island. So you have elevated section from the travel lane and that one has a curve on a gutter para mag-drain ang water. And then this area becomes your refuge island. Maybe butangan mo o planter's box, trees, or utilities. And then maybe this is an area for pedestrians to stay on as they cross the street. So that's usually used for that. Now, medians in general are used as a recovery area for vehicles. So kung naay madautan, pwede sila kung walay available shoulder ang dalan, dito sila sa median mag-rest. Kung nadautan, naguba, nakabangga, something like that. Now, usually median divides the movement of flow of traffic in opposing directions. So, east and west, south and north. So, kana siya. They will try to divide these two opposing directions. Now, these are also used kung lapad siya, like flush median, a lapad ni area of space, no, median. This can be used for U-turning vehicle, left-turning vehicle, and emergency para makarest ang ubang vehicle sa tunga kung na ay emergency cases na ma-block ang dalan because may accident or disaster. So those are for purposes of that. Now, sometimes also like in limited kay area, we have this as island so that mag-cross sa street ang mga pedestrian, they can stay on this island and then wait for the traffic of the motorists before sila mag-cross safely to the opposite side of the road. So that's refuge island for pedestrian. Okay. Now, if kailangan ka mag-crossover, mag-change og lane, U-turn or mag-counter flow. So that's actually temporary or used as a temporary area para ang driver makabalhin to the opposing direction or maka-U-turn. So that's temporary lanes ang median. Pero di siya gamiton on everyday. It can be used only for occasional need, no? And then crossover. Okay, median is dividing the lines between opposing direction. And because dividing siya nga line, it's actually the center line of the road. Now, sometimes extend na to ang width para po matabangan ang driver during night time na kung biyahe siya, dili mag-glare ang kahayag sa opposing lane, opposing direction sa iyaha kung naa siya sa inner lane. So that's reducing the effect of headlight glare at night time. Okay. And then we also know that some case of operation and maintenance sa DPWH, sa city engineering, when they have to repair and maintain the road, sometimes the median, okay, median can be used as an area para butangan sa mga equipment and construction material para mapadayon ang road operation sa road maintenance and repair. Okay. Now, we have what we call as barriers or fencing area, serving as a control system. So usually a barrier is a longitudinal system. Pahaba, dili siya palapad, no? So in this case, pahaba, depende sa road section inyong butangan, particularly kung gusto ninyo siya, ibarahon ang mo cross ang area. So the system here is actually used for protection and safety. So the first one, this one is actually the median barrier. Tunga mo siya sa dalan, sa median. And then sa kilid sa dalan, we call that roadside barrier. So roadside barrier are, in this case, are solid, okay? Solid concrete structure para gyud dili gyud mag-intrude sa traffic ang mga naa sa side dinhi. At the same time, walay mga debris from erosion of kanang material on the earth will come into the roadway, especially kung mag-landslide, magbaha, mag-ulan. And then the middle one is used para dili gid maka-cross ang pedestrian kay wala man siya means to cross kay dili man siya bridge. It's actually a highway with a very heavy traffic. So if you want to cross the other side, you should go up to the bridge here, na may sidewalk ang bridge, so that you can cross the other side, but not necessarily on this side, no? So it separates a travel lane for opposing direction, serves as a barrier to protect vehicles from the given road area, and then sometimes for pedestrian as well, para di sila mag-crossing. So also, this one serves as a protective area to tell everyone that this is part of the road system of the government. So therefore, anybody, any intrusion on this part here, labi na kag-defense siya, should not be should be mitigated, and if nag ka violate ka ana, then you can be sued respect to encroachment on the highway. Encroachment meaning misulod na ka sa property sa government, no? Okay. Then we have curve and gutter. So ganina when we have shoulders, no problema kay na may side slope makatabang sa drainage of water. And this one here mo ni imong shoulder, no. Usually ang shoulder after the travel lane na may white line marker. Sometimes it's pebbled area kani pebble or crushed stones ang gamiton para dili na kailangan nga butang ka og concrete kay magastos. So just crushed stones and pebbles for that shoulder area. Now sa city, wala tayo shoulder. We only have the clear zone area. And then before the clear zone, after sa clear zone area, kung paingon ka sa travel lane, you have the curve and then the gutter. So this is the curve, na siya entire structure nga puti. And gutter is actually kaning ubos na side na nakaslope para mag-drain og water. Sa mga bridges, you can see nga na siya bangag, no? So that water can drain to that area towards the drainage system. The same na siya sa bridge, no? Sa rotonda, for example, you can see diretso na siya mahulog sa suba ang excess water from the the road of the bridge because of nakakay draining area sa curve or sidewalk. So curve are mainly on urban roads and highways. It actually helps to separate the pavement of the traveled way from the pavement of the pedestrian sidewalk. Okay, so it separates the pedestrian then from the actual travel lane so that pedestrian can safely maneuver on the sidewalk their movements for walking. And then of course, part of that is to help support the gutter. So the curve is used for control of drainage. And it's also used for aesthetic. Sometimes pag-apahan na nilag pintal and then it will make the road a very nice lined system kay naamang kay mga painting done for road marking signs and signals and etc. So it's aesthetic, pagwapa. And then the last item is to reduce the right of way. So if you know fully that mo lang ni ang allocate sa travel lane, so dili mahurot nga travel lane tanan, no? We should allocate only this portion as travel lane and this portion for pedestrian. So that's reducing the right of way for each. Reduce ang sa pedestrian kay mora ni im allocation, reduce ang travel lane kay mo ni allocation niya. So then the demarcation between them is the curve and gutter. So the gutter is simply the ditch or the drainage, no? So kung kani imong gutter, kani imong curve supposedly na ay bangag din ha para pag flow sa tubig madrain siya diretso dito sa culvert ilalom sa sidewalk. Usually sidewalk na inani, no, ang iyang ilalom ana niya na ay culvert for drainage system and then alay mga bangag dapit sa gutter so that the road will be able to handle flooding during rainy season kay madrain naman ang sidewalk. Okay, then you have guardrails and sidewalks. Guardrails are metal or concrete structure that will guide and channel the movement of the driver, especially when mo drive siya on the road nga naay sharp curve or mo drive siya sa road nga kanang naay sharp nga kurbada during a nighttime period of driving. So it's a longitudinal barrier made of metal plates and whatnot, and is used to guide a maneuver of driver along a curved area. This is also used as a protective measures kaya usahay ang driver kung magdaot niya sa kanan mabuto ang brake or kanang nakainom siya ang driver na nakatulog siya pag drive then this will help para dili siya ma-shoot dito dapit sa mga side slope labi na kung pangpang or coastal road, no, so makatabang ni siya to protect the driver from moving away from the travel lane. And then it's used to prevent vehicles from leaving the roadway. So because vehicles should stay on the road traveling, then as it is, should be protected by the guardrails. And then you have the sidewalk. Sa sidewalk, you have the clear zone area, this one na naka-color red. Clear zone area is a space in between the curve and the actual sidewalk. Usually kani siya gabutangan sa utility posts, street signage, trees nga gagmay, or shrubs, or planters box, benches, or even a waiting shed, no? But in Cagayan, we do not do that because we do not have enough space para sa atong road network. So normally we just have about a meter or so para dito mo butang ang sidewalk sa walking pedestrian. So sidewalks are used to provide pedestrian traffic. So in areas nga urban, sidewalks are used for collector streets so that ang mga pedestrian, walking pedestrian sa rural area sa mga residential area and rural area can still maneuver to walk to and fro a destination. So you should allocate sidewalks then. Okay. Now, sidewalks are also used for access to an immediate bus station, parking area, shopping center, and then school zone or institutions like hospital and church and government office. So walking pedestrian will use the sidewalk, especially comes a pandemic. We cannot use so much of the public transport, so we do active transport, walking and cycling. So sometimes kaning side may be pedestrian and this will be clear zone kung i-pave din nimo pag-apahon tantangon ng mga trees, you will have the cycling area. So that means sidewalk is shared with the cycling area of the bicyclist. Kana kung maagrihan ninyo nga you can put away the clear zone kay optimize ninyo ang sidewalk and for the cyclist and the walking pedestrian. Okay. So then the last item is the side slope. Side slope are usually for rural areas. So after sa shoulder, kung wala kay drainage pipe, you can just allow water to go down from the shoulder towards the side slope. So maybe dinhi nga lower elevation, dinhi ma-built imong canal or drainage system. So that's the purpose nga na naatay side slope sa atubangan, which is related to one side of the road, and sa likod, back slope. No? So for example, dinhi dapit nga side kay Bakilid, it's a mountain area na may side slope. So ang imong problem ani is landslide when it will encroach any debris towards the shoulder and the travel lane. Mahunong gid imong traffic flow. Now dinhi naman imong problem is that whenever mag-ulan, we expect ang tubig muna og dito, no. However, the other problem is kung coastal road niya siya, this one here will be side na gid kayo or cliff sides sa coastal road area. Pangpang na siya kay nga side slope para mo ka-drive ka across that section. Tungod kay maybe coastal road ang area. So road right of way is the total land area acquired for construction of a road or a highway. In this case, we call it road acquisition. Mag-acquire tag road. So therefore, DPWH and City Engineering Office will buy road space area para sa mga general motorists so that over time, we can build the structure and the facility for both the pedestrian and the road users. Then we also have channelization. Channelization is a concept na i-channel nimo ang flow, nimong i-guide. So for example, there are different types of channelization material, no? So this is temporary, ma-remove ra over time. This is pavement marking type, so dili siya dali-dali mawala kay once i-paint nimo, it's long lasting. And then this one is really a channelization na nahulog na siya o boundary. It's a section being controlled by means of a fixed structure. In this case, ang fixed kay kanang bollards on the road para dili gyud mag-overtake or mag-counterflow ang traffic from one opposing direction to another direction. Especially kung kana nga section is very dangerous for a U-turn or counterflow. Okay, this one is when there is a road, the main road, and then na side road nga mag-merging, no? So, dinhi kaning duha ka car, gusto sila mag-merge aning outer lane sa usa ka moving highway. And yet, kabaluta nga moving man ang mga vehicles sa highway, so paspas kaya sa mandagan ni sa speed. So, kaning vehicle sa kilid nga mo-merge should really try to merge slowly para makasulod siya sa traffic stream sa main road. So you need this one, no, the barrier to guide the general motorist on the main road from the motorist on the side road. Now sa bridges, we usually only place double yellow line that will already indicate na dili pwede mag-U-turn, mag-counterflow, or mag-overtake, labi na pa sa bridge. So before maabot sa bridge approach, nagid kay kanang median nga indicate na nga dili ka pwede mag-crossover sa ani nga boundary. So usually buhaton na sila kay sa bridge man gud gawas nga moving load, we have to make sure that there's no such thing as easy maneuver for those who wants to do U-turn or for those who wants to counterflow or overtake another vehicle on the bridge. Uh, that's not feasible. Okay, channelization can be done with a barrier, no? Kani siya gi barrier na gid siya kay guys, sigug ulon yung payong sa bridge no, dito sa minaw, so nanay murag barrier gibutang. Kani temporary, we call it jersey barrier. And then this one is on pavement, no? Nga type, isulat lang sa pavement. So, channelization wise, pwede nimo ibutang sa intersection, so whether it's 4-leg or 3-leg, 1, 2, 3. So kung 4-leg or 3-leg intersection na regular, you can have channelization, no? I-guide nimo siya sa mga lines and then the turning movement sa right. Now, pwede po siya sa application when you have a non-regular intersection. In this case, kay murag X, no? And then truncated siya. And then this one, the last item is intersection na may island para ang mga moving pedestrian can stay on the island and wait for the signal to go green before sila mo cross opposing sidewalk corner. Okay, so then let's go to the discussion on some terminologies that are important for highway types. So the first one is parkway. So when you talk about parkway, it's reserved area or road for a park section. So this is in Canada. So this is a parkway because it's a tourism scenic area. The purpose is para makita ang scenery sa canyon. And then this is dedicated for murag view deck lugar, no? So this is a parkway nga road. Okay. Parkway in this is I think in France if I'm not wrong. So this section here is the main highway thoroughfare from an origin to ang destination niya kay city, no, sa usa ka area. Now, another section of that is a lower section which is actually the parkway so that people can come in to the tunnel or get out of the tunnel. Usually, the tunnel leads to a park or a museum area or a wildlife protected area. So this one, Kaninga Road, is used as a parkway. So ang purpose is recreational, tourism, and relaxation of people who will use the road going to a parkway. Now, parkway can also be done using bypass road. So kung bypass road siya from the main highway or thoroughfare na kay side road, and then ribbon lang siya nga type para makita nimo ang bay area nga scenery. So from the canyon to the scenery of the harbor or the pier, this is a ribbon parkway area. So parkway can be used for areas connecting museum, maybe uh, kanang museum nga building nga museum in a indoor museum or outdoor museum. Some outdoor museum includes parks, so therefore any tourism nga ma-develop nimo sa area much better because you can create or divert the traffic flow from the regular motorists to the parkway motorists. So for example, if you go to example sa highway sa Japan, there's a main highway for Chiba Prefecture. Prefecture is like municipality of Chiba. So, meron siya municipality sa Kauswagan. So, Chiba Prefecture is actually a city which has a very few, dili siya city, it's like a municipality nga gamay. And then, ay daghan roads and highways connecting sa iyaha. But one area sa iyaha is a parkway that leads to Disneyland and Disney Sea. So, that's the reason nga naa siya separate road. Okay. Some parkways will not allow the general four-wheel vehicles within the parkway. So you can only have active transport, cyclists, and walking pedestrian dedicated for this road, which is a parkway road. So this is road for the park. And then this one is parkway. This is a monument area of a park, let's say opposing sides of a park. In Britain, in France, this is usually what's happening. You have a monument entry to the park, and the end of that parkway is actually a museum or a government office. Sa England, they have this as an estate of the Queen, and then this both sides here is a park, and therefore this road is a parkway. It's used for very specific purpose, recreation, tourism, and so forth. Now, opposing to a parkway is the intention to move for logistics and very specific purpose. Heavy ang traffic, heavy ang dagan, kusog ang imong pag-abot from point to point because gadali ka. So, it's an expressway. So, expressway here is bounded by a enclosure na ay fencing para dili ma-encroach. No? Kay walay side road, walay intersection, walay mag-merge o diverge. Very straightforward ang pagdagan sa sakyanan ani nga road. So notice ninyo, this is an expressway, very regular nga expressway. The median is divided. You have a small shoulder and then nananay kay fencing. Notice ninyo, this is the highway parallel to the expressway. So this is regular highway. Pwede ka mosulod, gawas because there's a side road na intersection, na pedestrian crossing, and so forth. But this is the regular highway and this is the expressway. So therefore, expected, kaya express man siya, paspas ang speed of this vehicle from point to point. Now, another kind of expressway is actually a tollway. So, you can have an expressway similar to this, but unlike this one nga walay tollway, dinhi na kay tollway. So, that's an example of a tollway which is an expressway. So tollways are areas at the end of an expressway or middle section of an expressway where you have to pay, no? So regular trucks and heavy vehicle, dinhi ka magbayad. For smaller vehicles nga kani mga gagmay og loading, labi na katong mga let's say pick up na nay loads kay gagmay ra sila or van, they have to use this one. Very gamay ra man ilang karga so ilahang bayad is gamay ra po. But on this side, kani siya, this is for regular passenger traffic. So, walay bayad kay gawa sila sa tollway. So, that's the reason nga. Sometimes, kung ano ka sa dalan, sa expressway, na ay tollway at the end, magbayad ka sa dalan. So, this is an expressway. No, notice na boundary sa kilid. You have the shoulder and yet wala intersection, wala moving crossing pedestrian, wala tanan. So, it's a very controlled road network. Three lane on each side and nine median nga divided because the median in the middle is actually a space. Now, this is an expressway which is Corbada Gamay nga expressway. And notice niyo ang pika side is lower elevation and the area here is higher elevation. This is not interchange, it's just so happen nga ang iyang terrain is na ay low and upper elevation. So that's okay. So this is the example of an expressway I've discussed as a rural road network, no? So you have the median. The median is divided by a structure which is separating opposing traffic flow, two lanes on each side. And then notice niyo na siya shoulder which is maybe pebbled area or a stone material area, not really a pavement. And then you have a side slope. And then sa side slope na kay trees and shrubs. And then na din kay fencing because the road right of way is from this end to that end. So the demarcation of the property is the trees on this side, which mainly say something like Naitag-iya on the opposite side. And this is the main road of the government's property. Okay, so an example of expressway is the Subic Clark Tarlac Expressway leading to the military Subic Bay area. Southern Tagalog Arterial Road or Star Tollway. So paingon ni siya I think sa Batangas area. Okay, and then you have here the North Luzon Expressway and Lex. This one is that section sa expressway nga wala pay tollway but adto ka sa unahan ani na nakanhit ang tollway. And then of course another La Union Expressway sa Tarlac Pangasinan expressway section. Dinhi kay Tarlac man ni and Pangasinan when nahitabo ang lahar sa una, this area below this is actually lahar river area and then this one is a bridge section of the expressway. Okay, so this is a tollway. Tollway is either electronic pass ticket for payment or cash payment of ticket when you enter the roadway. So normally atong roads is built by the financing of the tax of the people. Kung may tax na tayong development of roads. But for those who are operators nga gagamit sa road for specific logistics like truck and trailer nga negosyo, bus operator or mga operator nga gahandle og services for package and delivery services, usually magbayad sila sa road additional to the tax. And that's the reason nga natay tollway. So katong mga coastal road nga paingon sa port and pier nga nagadala og cargo, usually moagi sila sa tollway sa shipment line sa pier. So hopefully na nata sa Cagayan, they're planning for that, especially sa coastal road sa Gusa. That's sa tollway na dayon, paingon sa pier. So you have to pay in addition to tax, in short. Okay, sa Manila, they have a tollway also sa Skyway. Okay, sa mato ka sa short route sa taas, elevated area, paingon sa airport for example, para ma-shortcut ka, you can use the Skyway, no? But the problem is you have to pay because that is a new development of elevated highway, and because it's generally expensive to build one, then you have to pay if you want to access that skyway area. Okay, so then we have the freeway. Freeways are actually part of is also an expressway, except that walay toll, no? Walay tollway at the end. So it's a free pass moving traffic, walay toll. Generally, tanan makalabay sa freeway. And then sometimes freeways have ramps, pasaka, panaog, and pwede ra siya inani, regular nga roadway, but pwede siya na ay flyover, no? In sense to a flyover man itong gina-term ano local. But in international application, this is actually an interchange. So this is only called as a freeway because walay tollway. And then as you move into lots of ramps, kung daghan imong ramp, it becomes an interchange. So this is an interchange na lower ramp that's at grade sa ground level, at grade. And then middle ramp, okay, it's a bridge. And then upper ramp, which is another bridge, no? Directional ang flow sa traffic ani niya. Especially kung dili makaya sa usa ka intersection, no? Let's say intersection on this side. O dili kaya kay napag kay highway sa ubo. So you can build a huge interchange in the middle so that you can accommodate traffic flow sa entire roadway network. Then another type of road is the intersection. So sa intersection, we have maybe a highway or a street intersection. Kung sa highway ta, we are expecting a volume of traffic. So you have island, okay, islands. And then you have cross-section, crosswalk para sa pedestrian. Nadan siya triangular island here para siya makastay before siya mo-cross opposing side of the road on this end. So the double line here serves as the pedestrian lane or pedestrian crossing, and ang double line, okay? And then the single line here is only for the travel motorist, the travel lane and the motorist. So dili sila pwedeng mag-cross over sa pedestrian line unless mag-green ang signal. So they have to stop on this end para ma-accommodate ang movement sa pedestrian on this side. So the moment mo turn og red ang pedestrian, ay na dahil mag-green pod sa vehicular traffic. So the center should be an empty space. It's a clear zone area. Inanyo clear zone. Walay sakyanan sa tunga. Unless mag-go green. So this one is go green na to through movement, east and west. So naa na siya sa tunga. So magdali dayon mo kay para ma-clear ni nga area before mag-change og signal into, let's say, red. Okay, so in a heavy intersection like a highway intersection, na kay island for pedestrian and crossing sidewalk or crosswalk for sa pedestrian. Now, sa small intersection, you don't need to have an island, you just have to have the street corner, no? Na naka-ramp. Ramp para dili kay elevated ang area. Ngayon, diretso din siya baklay paygon sa crossing sa yellow zebra line para siya maka-cross ang isa ka pedestrian. Now, usually, because gamay ang traffic flow, we expect na pedestrian will just wait on the corner so that kung mag-change of light, appropriately aware siya kung kano siya mo cross o dili mo cross on a given road. So this is a contrast between main highway in a facility of an intersection, and this is a small road network facility of an intersection. Okay. Then we have the mid-block. Mid-block is a section of a road for a corner to corner of a block of a a zone of an area. So for example, this is a commercial block, lugar ni isa ka commercial block, let's say Gaisano, no? So this is one corridor of Gaisano dayon na walay intersection supposedly. That makes it a mid-block. Now, some mid-block kay residential area lugar like school and residential area. So dako kay stretch sa corridor, no? The only cutting section here is not an intersection really, but a crossing pedestrian crosswalk. Like similar here, no? Taas kay nga corridor and then crosswalk. Taas nga corridor and then crosswalk. And then this is a long corridor nga gamay kay crosswalk na island din gamay. This is suburban area, crosswalk on the road lang siya. So it's a long mid-block area. So mid-block are usually defined as a long stretch of road without the intersections, but may have just the crossing pedestrian zebra line. Okay. Then we have a roundabout. Roundabout is roundabout a circle, which is actually a junction but is circular type, and it's sometimes locally we call it sa Spanish rotonda. Rotonda has an inner lane and outer lane, but the traffic flow is really moving around a circle. So nagyapon kay number of lanes, and then nagyapon kay crossing pedestrian area. In case like this, on I crossing pedestrian island, and then ang iyang crosswalk para sa pedestrian on all of the legs. Na yung mga channels because road markings are indicated nga dili ka pwede lang ka mutud diri, pwede ka mag-right, pwede mag-left turn, something like that. And then we'll go back to interchange. So ang ramp sa PWD is not the same sa ramp sa usa ka interchange, no? So interchange have a main bridge. Okay. So the green part east to west is the bridge, no? Ang ilalom sa iya ay underpass. We have this section north and south. So this is the symbol for bridge, no? In red. Now, if kaning higher elevation area is crossing to a lower elevation area, tendency is pwede man nga from lower elevation, musaka ka sa higher elevation. So you go from I to D, so mag-merge ka din nga traffic. Pwede pod nga gikan sa higher elevation area, unaog ka sa lower elevation, so that's diverging. You're going down to a ramp para makanaog ka sa silong. So that's actually blue line, which is direct connect ramp. So connect ramp, and so forth. Now, kung dili ka mag-cross, you just have to make sure na kabalo ka, nasayop ka sa imong position sa imong pagdagan. Siyempre, di ka U-turn kaya dako kaya interchange. What you can have is look for a semi-direct connect ramp. So, I'd like to go in the opposite side of the road network of the interchange. I'll go to HCI para makadiretso ko sa next directional ramp. Okay? So, balhin ko din hinga side. That's okay. Shortcut bali. That's a semi-direct connect ramp. And then, of course, kung dili na ko gusto nga sa taas, saka sa bridge, I have a very shortcut, which is a JK nga ramp. I can, I will go down, or I will either go up. So that's actually a merging traffic flow sa non-direct connect ramp. So you have yellow, green, blue, and then violet ramp. So you have diagonal. Diagonal is really just like a loop, semi-direct loop. One quadrant is one leaf, and then outer connection is like this one, blue, and then directional type is this one. This is the directional type. Okay. So these are different types of ramp for an interchange. Okay. Sa interchange dayon, we know fully nga there is a ramp, and therefore natin gitawag katong traffic nga mag-diverge o traffic nga mag-merge. So kay naamang kay ramp gikan sa main road nimo, gusto ka mo gawas, so mag-slow down ka dinhi, naog dayon ka, we call that off ramp kay naog ka sa lower elevation. So this is developed by Agur area. It's a triangle na nay angle para at least maka safely maneuver ka panaog sa ramp. And this is called as diverging area, decelerating area, and exiting area. Now we have also on ramp para ka mag-merge and then mag-enter sa main street flow sa highway. So this is on ramp, acceleration lane, and then getting merging with the flow of the traffic stream on the upper main road area. So again, nakay Gore ha, na right side. Okay, so these are the different types of interchange. And then we go to ramp, channel, and crossing. So on ramp, On-ramp is a ramp na mag-merge sa traffic flow. It's going into para mag-merge. This is off-ramp. It is a ramp off from the main road so that mag-diverge yung traffic flow. Now, kung duha ka main road and then posing traffic, gusto ka mag-counter flow or gusto ka magbalhin kay nasayop ka sa imuhang direction, this is called as a crossover. Pero dili kay ni siya gina-encourage kay 90 degree ni siya magulat ka nga maka-merge ka, no? So that's perpendicular to the parallel road. So crossover ang term na niya. Now, railroad can also be part of a road network, labi na kung rail tracks on the highway. So it's called a railroad crossing. Another type of road is a 90-degree L or 90-degree curve. So you can, this is very unusual kay 90 degree imong pag dili siya kurbada, it's really sharp na 90 degree. Usually happens kung naay mga elevated area or rolling terrain nga mountain or lower area to an elevated area. So kung best example ani sa Marcos Highway when you go up to Baguio. So if you take a ride on a bus, you will be able to see this nga 90 degree ang kurbada because ang mountain area na ay pangpang nga 90 ra gid mahimo. Di siya mahimong kurbada 90 gyud so ang bus kay murag mohunong diha tuyok gamay, hunong nasad, siya mag 90 degree angle para siya ma-cluster balik sa iyang position. So this happens when you go from lower Ilocos area and then you go up to the mountain of the plateau of Baguio City or Baguio area. Baguio is on upper elevation. Okay, so we talk about mid-block. Again, sa mid-block is a wrong stretch of a corridor of a highway nga walay intersection. Maybe na ay crossing for pedestrian but no intersection. So we call that mid-block. And then you have intersection nga four-way. 1, 2, 3, 4 kay four leg siya. And then you have three-leg intersection. 1, 2, 3. Three-leg. It's a T intersection. You have a Y because you have three-leg pero tapered ang usa. Okay. And then you have a rotonda, which is circular runabout. And you also have a multi-leg intersection. So daghan siya leg. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four ka leg. 1, 2, 3, 4 ka legs. Okay. So for night question.
None, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, ako ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, malibog ko difference sa kuan ma'am, curb og sa gutter ma'am.
Very good. Itong drawing ko mas masabtan. So, kaning curve, kani siya, kanang puti, muna siyang curve yun. Kana siya nga structure is a curve. Okay? Sabtan? Sabtan? Oh, kani siya curve na siya. Curve, dili lang curve yung forma. It's really just a curve. Kani siya curve, gyapon na. Ang gutter, kaning ilalom sa iyaha kani diya, na murag kanang bitang gi-slope. Muna siyang gutter. Usually na siya bangag. na siya hole para ang ilalom sa sidewalk na ay drainage pipe which is culvert. Dito din mahulog imong tubig. Kita ka ng gutter sa roofing?
Yes ma'am.
So pareha na siya forma, di ba? Ang gutter niya kay nakamurag L, niya ang tubig dinadapit sa line sa L. Kani siya mao gyapon ni sa curve ang tubig dinadapit sa iyang kilid. And usually sa bridge mas makita nimo kay kumauning bridge no, then mao ang sidewalk sa bridge. Makita nimo ni mga bangag diha interval. So this one is the gutter, this is the curve sa sidewalk and then dinhi ang gutter sa kilid kanang imong agian sa tubig.
Okay ma'am.
Sabtan.
Tawad na ma'am. Sige,
Sa
ma'am.
usahay ka ng abay ra kay na sila ba then di nimo masabtan nga mao ni ang gutter line. Then mo ning curve line. Ang curve line is kaning sa ibabaw which actually demarcates the travel lane from the sidewalk. And then ubos ana is the gutter which will actually allow flow of water to come into sa line sa canal paingon sa iyang drainage area. Okay?
Yes ma'am. Thank you ma'am.
Okay. Nawala na ko. Okay, so let's go to lesson 4 na dayon. Makita pa yung screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Sige. So now we'll start with some data discussion on studies on transportation and survey. So, when we do planning, infrastructure design, systems analysis, and programming of road for demand and supply of application of transportation, we really need to have data because we cannot start without empirical basis nga no mo na itong ibutang sa dalan. So empirical data meaning to say na kay valid nga data gi-survey para gid ka maka-compute, maka-calculate, maka-design. So empirical data like sa transportation is basically from the demand kung say gipang ikanahanglan build mangutag building mangutana ra man to sa client kung sa imong gusto nga balay pilang area sa imong kwarto pilang area sa imong sala nana ra siya ka simple but sa road dili you are catering to a community need so that means there should be an emphasized demand so mag-survey ka pila ilang kailangan kada balay pila inyong gusto pila ka sakyanan pila ka dalan so imo nang survey hon tanan so that is under the transportation study and survey for uh, data collection and analysis of data for infrastructure development and systems analysis. So let's go back to planning factors then. Sa planning factors, we have demand and supply, and we have the planner. So the demand is from the road users, the supply is from the designer of the road, which will build the infrastructure and the systems and the projects as well as the programs. The planner will incorporate everything based on the surveyed data. So we need to do surveys then. Okay. So before we go to survey, we have to realize that the origin of everything in a system analysis is that we have a node. People will travel from an origin to a destination based on location. And that will be dictated by the demand volume and the frequency of movement of traffic from one location to the next, barangay to barangay, city to city, so forth and so on. And then we also have volume, demand, with respect sa network nga atong ma-build. Asa nato ipaagi. So that's actually infrastructure related. Dili tanan dalan nga gusto sa tao atong i-build kay dako gasto. So we only appropriate sections of an area which where we can build strategically the infrastructure para ma-serve ang tanan, not necessarily building a lot of roads. So that's where infrastructure and network comes in based on the demand. And of course, ang usa ka network is basically a concept as well of flow. So, sabton sa din nato nga kung mag-move ang tao from point to point, enough ba ang linkage and capacity nga gi-allocate para ang flow sa tao or volume of vehicle on that area is how to say, is enough or mahatod in terms of the number. And then, ang flow ba niya fluid para dili siya ma-traffic or ma-congest na kung mag-ulan o mag-disaster, makaagi gyapon siya, something like that. And kana mga flow will allow them to use the road safely, free from accidents or crime and whatnot. So everything of this is a component of a transportation system that has to be designed and to facilitate the movements of flow either as a one component or a joint component of a system. So balik ta sa modes, we have motorized, non-motorized, classification, and the different modes. We have road profile, rural, and urban, and we have this na in transportation studies and surveys. So the links that I'm showing here are relevant for you to review on. Naka-PDF na siya tanan. And I think na di sa ako ang uban no, kaya na-download na. Nevertheless, I'll send you some of the files here, but this is important links for you to study. Ang anong kanilang akong gi-focus because these are more relevant sa small community like Cagayan de Oro application. Traffic volume, spot speed, travel time delay, pedestrian bicycle study, level of service, parking, intersection, traffic signal, and signs. I will not dwell so much in the intersection. Sorry kaayo gamay ra gid atong time din but I'm hoping na sa CEM 4 nato sa transportation engineering calculations we can have intersection design. That's and higher up na calculation. So for now, introduce lang muna ko para makita ninyo ang beauty how we do things with infrastructure development for roads. Okay, so let's start with traffic volume. Traffic volume is basically counting pila ang mulabay sa usa ka dalan. So because it's a counting, you need somebody to help you count. And by counting, we assign people kung sa ilang i-count. Let's say kanisha, imong assignment is buses. Kanisha is trucks and trailers. Kanisha kay motorella and motorcycles. So i-assign mo sila. This is manual counting. They will look at the road. They will have a point section para dito na masugod ang count. So let's say this is a demarcation line. So anything mulabay ani is counted as one vehicle. Now, if you're not using lots of people, you can have few personnel, but you have traffic counters. So each of this counter has a designated vehicle so that yan lang i-flip sa iyang finger and then you will be having the counting. The problem here is kailangan tulo lang or upat because to some degree kung daga na sa kay malibog na ang traffic counter nga person, no? So nakabantay mo na ay stopwatch and kilid or watch, it's because every data should be within 15-minute period. So upat ka 15-minute makes a 1 hour traffic volume. So you have to collect the data for maybe a day for 24 hours data. So you have to make sure that all your surveyors or personnel will be able to consolidate the data and then alternately maghimo mo scheduling kay makapoy ba sa na sila. So they will only work for about 4 hours then away, then the next 4 hours lahi na sad. And then tungod ka na data ila i-compute ilang i-summarize. So on the field you have to have somebody who's working on the data for data management and personnel to do traffic survey. And of course na kay alternate no kay dili pwede nga 24 hours nila sila nimo patrabaho. So di na nas kabalong mag-ihap at the end of 8 hours kapoy na sila. And then of course we know sa dalan it's very tedious to do traffic manual data collection. So you have to cover your head, cover your mouth, and cover your ear. Head is to protect you from the weather condition on the road, labi na kung surveyor sila. And then sa face, so that they will not be they will be not, they will be protecting themselves from the emissions and fumes on the road. Kay abog ang dalan at the same time na ay pollution. And then na ay earplugs or ear muff para sila dili sila kaayo masabaan sa dalan, no? So that's protective gear PPE para sa imuhang enforcers. Of course na sila traffic vest para sa makitaan sila dali nga nag-survey sa dalan and they will be safely collecting data on the side of the road, no? Nasa side lang sa road. Okay. Data for traffic volume will tell us in spatial mapping asa ang mga hotspot area kay dako og volume of traffic flow. So you know fully asa mga road network nga possible dako ang congestion because daghan kay galabay ani nga section sa dalan. Okay. So when we talk about section sa road, pwede ka mag-manual counting, pwede po ka mag-camera using technology, sensor or camera. So kung sensor ka, you will have a track length and then a section for the observation of traffic volume. So mulabay sila, na makita nimo pila ng labay, maihap, but then nakay camera para intelligently makita niya at track ning ng labay and so forth and so on. So this is technology driven, this is manual driven. Okay. So when you do traffic volume count, pwede ka mag-traffic volume sa segment of a mid-block. So let's say this is a mid-block section, is Xavier University lugar niya din. This is Hayes Street or Hayes Avenue. Then kay Corrales. So corner sa Corrales, you can have intersection survey here, traffic volume sa intersection, and you have mid-block survey sa usa ka road network. So kung mag-mapping ta, or sorry, kung mag-intersection ta, kung intersection atong survey, ang imong survey sheet is inani, oh. So we'll count pila kabuk na labay nga sakyanan, each direction, right turn, left turn, and through or straight movement. And then this is the summary sheets na dahil kung maihap na nimo ang total ng imong nakuha. So this is just application for a survey sheet. Now, if you have a surveyed area na, then you have collected all data, average daily traffic is based on the number of volume of traffic on a given roadway. So this is an example. 36,500 ang mulabay ani nga dalan. Both directions niya. So that means heavy ang traffic ang area. Now, Sometimes kung dinhi po kamo tan-aw sa intersection, so that means kung four leg ni 1, 2, 3, 4, so na ay 28, 828 on one side, 27, 979 on the other side, and then sa north and south you have 46, 298, and sa north you have 41, 908 ka volume of traffic going through the intersection. So suma total, if you have spatial analysis of a road network, kita nimo tanan these are the traffic or average traffic on this given section or area of the road. Okay. Representation of traffic volume can be represented by monthly, hourly data, or weekly data. Pwede siya sa volume of traffic from the first thing in the morning until the evening, so 24 hours data. So this is traffic volume for vehicular traffic, no? Sunday, Monday, and then pwede 1 month or 1 week. Pwede po bicycle traffic, no? Buying a vehicle, bicycle on an area from a weekday period and then from a given daily traffic. Now, sa imong survey, if you have traffic data, you can actually have the volume in one direction. Let's say, paingon sa north, paingon sa south, or paingon sa east and west. And then, imong i-graph ang both directions sa road segment, opposing traffic flow. Now, if you do not do this, you can also profile. Profiling kayo use bar chart, curve, pie chart. So, these are profiling. So, for example, here, you can showcase ang traffic flow sa tulo ka buwan during summers, 3 months na summer, o 3 months na winter, annual data. So, makita nimo sa 2,000, ubos gid ay ang data overtime sa winter, mas higher ang sa summer traffic because people go out when the weather is very nice or fine for recreation, for specific activity, and so forth. You can also compare traffic based on non-mobile and mobile. So mobile is mga motor vehicle and then non-mobile is katong nagsakay sa motor vehicle, ang passenger. So this is the line kung pila ang volume of traffic nga nahatod ana. Let's say kung jeepney imong istoryahan, pila ka jeepney? Pila nakasakay sa jeepney? So tutalo nimo ang capacity sa jeepney riders para makuha nimo profile sa passengers. This is just analysis, no? You can do any profile you like basta ma-represent na ang data nga imo nakuha in terms of volume. Okay, so sa tally sheet sa ganina sa intersection, this is the simplified format na murag ballot box, no? One tick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bar. But then, this will be interpreted as a singular data representing the intersection. So this is now the simplified format of this one, no? So nanakay format. The layout of the intersection with the volume sa iyang movement through north and south direction, southbound, eastbound, westbound, and uh, northbound. Okay. Now let's go to sa vehicle classification. It's a different survey but the same traffic volume ang iyang basis. Unsay difference, ma'am? Kung mag-ihap lang ta pila ka buklab mo labay nga sakyanan sa dalan, so we're just after nga kani nga dalan pwede ma-traffic based on sa congestion. Okay? So very simple. Laparo na to ang dalan because daghan na kay sakyanan o maghimo tag another dalan kay maghimo tag kay daghan ka kay sakyanan. That's just traffic volume. But when we are into civil engineering works and construction, we fairly know that we design roads based on loading and the pavement design. So pavement design will require the understanding kung other than na ay daghan nilabay nga sakyanan sa dalan, ato patanon pila ang loading na hatod sa pavement. So then you will ask, unsa mga kasagara na naglabay ani nga dalan? And then what are the loads? Because then we will design appropriately unsa kabaga atong pavement, unsa kalapad atong dalan, and so forth and so on. So that's basically vehicle classification survey. So again, pwede ka mag traffic volume and manual and kaning technology based or camera or CCTV, but this time you will add classification. So again, you can do it mid-block, intersection, survey, something like that. And then you go to uh, analysis. So let's say annual data, makita nimo nga by classification, mounting number of vehicle, para mounting different types of classification from cars, vans, trucks, so forth and so on. And then matotal nimo siya sa isa ka tuig. Average daily traffic, average sa isa ka adlaw, sa isa ka tuig, summarize as this one sa isa ka road network. And then kay opposing man ang direction, so na direction pa palapya, then ang isa pahalapaya. So it's opposing direction, no? So palapya is more higher volume compared sa mahalapya. So notice ninyo, although the same ni siya nga road, it's opposing in direction. So ang difference nila is this is what we call as drift direction. So notice ninyo, ang volume di niya is basically very particular with opposing traffic, annual data, and then of course the difference between direction. So this is tabulating your results of data based on volume and based on classifications of vehicles. Now, when we talk about classifications of vehicles, we are after kung kinsa nga vehicular traffic ang makapaburden sa atong pavement in terms of design. So this basically ato tan-aon sa class type. Class is based on tonnage. So any class which is less than certain weight will be classified as 1, 2, 3, and then higher going up 4, 5, and 6, and 7. So 8 is the highest because it will entail heavier vehicles like concrete, cement trucks, tractors, dump truck, and sleeper. So sa Korean Department of Transportation, mo ni ilang numbering, no? So you have in here trailer truck, this sleeper, kung makita nimong sleeper, this is higher volume because magkarga man ni siya axle loads. So kanimo na iyang may tabuan ni sa number 11, 12, and 13. So sleepers are actually detachable ang iyang load, but the moment ibutang siya, it's based on an axle. So axle wise, axle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, axle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and axle 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 13, no? Nga axle type. Sorry, vehicle classification. So, in a road network, let's say, klaro kay sa ato ang expressway or in expressway nga daghan kay galabay nga sakyanan. So, usually, natay sensor sa ilalom sa pavement. This sensor will allow us to look at unsay ga panglabay by traffic volume and unsa iyang loading gikarga. So, this one is a sensor that will look into weight sa iyahang vehicle, karga. At the same time, pila ka axle ang nilabay nga wheel. So this is very sensitive to metal and loading. So under siya sa pavement and sometimes na camera to aid for understanding unsang volume galabay sa dala. So these are different types, no? Sa Cagayan, for example, the DPWH has this kind control system niya sa Gusa and sa Bulwa man yata, Upol, Ipunan, Bulwa. Okay, so the Federal Highway Association in the USA, they have this kind of classification based on, let's say, for example, heavier loading compared sa lower loading. So bus is just really 2 to 3 axle, no? Na ay 1, 2, 3 axle na bus. Pero light ra na kay passenger naman. Kani kay loading yun nga heavy because this is trailer types. And then, of course, na din kay multi-axle na dayon nga mga trucks and trailers. Mas heavy ni sila. These are the ones and the reason why magbutang tag tollway din sa dalan. Then we go for pedestrian study na sad. So pedestrian study is volume of pedestrian crossing a given area. So pwede siya manual, tao imong ipa-survey, gihapon niya pilay nilabang sa usa ka road network using the crossing pedestrian walkway, sidewalk, or crosswalk. So, for example, nag-mapping ka, so sa downtown area din sa Cagayan, mo dining mapo, daghan kay gaagi diha dapit sa Divisoria Park area. Okay. In Shibuya or some centers of a commercial area, kung ang crossing is higher in terms of volume sa tao compared sa sakyanan, so the crossing will also have diagonal for pedestrian crossing, not just the sides, no? Labi na kung mas daghan gid lagi ang tao compared sa sakyanan. And of course, we look at this volume in terms of the design because ang crossing is nai width lang, no, and nai length. But of course, kung daghan kay ni siya, so increase nimo ang width because ang length naman siya mausab. Now, volume of traffic of pedestrian is not only for streets, no, or sidewalks. We also have walkway, no, overpass for pedestrian overpass and underpass for pedestrian underpass. And even volume of traffic on the sidewalk. Enough ba ang width sa sidewalk para sa moving pedestrian? Okay. Ang survey and volume counting is based on manual or video, pero manual ang gyapon siya at the end of the day. Or infrared, so nice sensor, so mag-help siya. Or passive infrared because it will be like nalang sa kilid and then one side lang siya maka-detect, no? Dili ni doble man ni siya mag-detect. And then pwede pod video nga intelligent enough ang video to count pila ka pedestrian ang naglabay sa dalan. Pwede siya vibration based on seismic, pila ka tao ang ilabay because mo vibrate ang sensitive siya sa vibration sa nag-move na tao sa sidewalk. And then pwede po radar because na kang motion sensor. And pressure. Pressure is because kung mulabay ka, mabaklay, bugat man imong tiil. Okay. And then induction loops. This is for bicycle only. Mulabay sila sa usa ka lane sa bicycle lanes, mahihap siya. And this one is pneumatic. Pneumatic is related to air nga nasa usa ka how to say kaning wire and then so kung mag-move ka ani it's more like a pressurized and if flat man nga pressure kanit kay pneumatic tubes ang gamit so makaihap siya tao nga nilabay. Okay. So data wise for pedestrian you have pedestrian counting so ihapon nimo pila nilabay sa usa ka road crossing footpath or sidewalk. Get the volume, pila ka flow rate, pila ang kadaghan sa tao in terms of volume and capacity sa facility. So ang survey is done 15-minute interval parehas sa traffic volume counting. Now, ang another side of the inventory is look at the infrastructure, ang path mismo. So ang path will have width and then the length. Then obstruction, kung naman galing mga lampposts, garbage, and nga makagamay sa iyang effective width para sa road network for pedestrian. And then ang capacity, pilang masulod nga pedestrian sa isa ka road section nga naang pedestrian crosswalk. And then again, flow rate and volume of traffic. So that way, ma-inventaryo nimo tanan infrastructure sa pedestrian and then ma-assess nimo kung enough ba ang gihatag nimo nga facility for pedestrian walking. And then of course, the other side is kung sa kapaspas sila makabaklay, that's related to speed. But of course, speed sa moving traffic sa usa ka pedestrian. So usually, pedestrian speed is based sa gender, babae lalaki, or sa age, babae, tigulang, bata, or adult, and senior citizens, something like that. And group size, kung nasa mga school zone, kay platoon man ni sila maglabang, no? Kay grupo-grupo man ang sa eskwelahan dapit. So that's group size. And of course, kung naa siya purpose, nga nang mulabay siya danha, ay nga nang gadali siya mag-adto dito because naa siya trip purpose. So normally, if you get data sa speed survey, you get maybe 120 samples, 50% sa male, and 50% sa female para walay bias. Okay, so this is pedestrian volume sa intersection, sa crossing, and then pedestrian volume kung road lang, sidewalk na survey. Tabulated lang siya. Okay, so this is data tabulation for result. Results can also be represented by graphical charting or a graph for analysis of result. You can also do bar chart and histogram or curve line for results and analysis. You can also do spatial para mapakita nimo asa dapit ang mga moving pedestrian volume per hour sa usa ka road network sa usa ka syudad. Okay. Then we go to vehicular spot speed, no? Sa dalan natay gitawag og speed limit. So ang mga dalan gi-build for certain safety regulation on speeding. So kung naa kay speed, let's say and this is a German autobahn. Okay, so this is a regulatory speed of 120 miles per hour. So allowed ka taman 120 and beyond that i-apprehend na ka kay red na yung mark. So signs and signals in this case a sign kung 40 ragali you cannot go beyond beyond 40, you will be apprehended. So usually this is 40 kilometers per hour. Now, this is information sign. So you are just told na the speed limit is 50 and the maximum is 50. So if mag-beyond ka ana, pwede ka ignon nga, sir, nabaya nakabutang dito. O pwede di kay apprehend. Kay regulatory man ni siya, kani siya is information naman ni siya. So, that's the reason nga ibutang gid ang speed limit sa dalan. Now, speed limit can be done by enforcers using a speed gun. So, speed gun is you check on the target and then you do double hitting of a target to get your speed aning moving vehicle sa dalan. So, pwede siya on the roadside, pwede sa taas, sa bridge area para makita nimong low roadway network and then makakuha ka sa value sa mga speeds on the road. Pwede pod sulod ka sa usa ka car para dili kay obvious nga nagkuha ka sa iyang data. And then different types, different speed, spot speed nga gun. So this is spot speed nga gun nga na ay telescopic uh, mirror, and then this one is murag sensor lang siya, murag siya cellphone lang, no? And then other than the fact na kung magamit ka sa speed limit is for the safety of the moving motorist, it's also for the crossing 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 animal or whatnot sa gabi, especially sa mga road section nga na ay forest area, no? Kasi kang dili lang man ka makapatay og animal, ikaw po basin mahimong accident prone ang area because makabangga ka at the same time mag-create og collision with this animal. So it's regulated somehow nga mga area nga naay inani, you slow down and you reduce your speed based on the instruction on the road sa speed limit. So protected area like in Australia, they have crossing kangaroos on the road. In Africa, they have lions and whatnot. So countries like this, they really emphasize on speed limit, especially sa nighttime. Okay, speed limit is done with respect to track length. So kung magamit kag speed gun, no, speed gun, you have a recommendation length because ang isa ka section should be usually mid-block ni siya, no? Mid-block of a roadway na kay study length, which is recommended study length. And then ang imong position is that na kay marker sa starting and end line. Sa starting is kung paingon dito ang vehicle, you have to start from the front and then pag move niya, ang iyang lubot, iyang rear, mag short so lead at this part. So you have a starting time 0 to the end time hantod mo gawas ang car sa iyahang end line. So that's actually a reference point for getting the time, no? Kay naman kay distance na recommendation. So kung magamit kag speed gun, so dinhi ka mo tindog, imong i-target sa iyahang line din pagsulod niya, target, and then paglabang niya, target nimo iyang likod para makuha nimong speed ani nga sakyan. So recommended is that kung kani nga road network has a speed of 25 mile per hour, it's about divide by 3. So imong distance should be 30 or 40 meters para nimo 30 or 40 feet para siya makuha nimo ang speed sa vehicle on this side. Kas kung highway, kung taas kay ang speed limit, let's say 40 mile per hour, paspas mo na siya. So, taas-taas imong traplen para dili ka ma-shock nga mura siya Superman gilabay sa imong tubangan. Okay, so makuha nimo ang data. So, this is an example. You have a fixed distance from starting to endpoint at 176 feet. That's already fixed length of the section for study of spot speed in terms of a layout. Ang imong observer has a line marked to a 3 as reference point. And then this one is the beginning time. So because by physics we know that distance over time is speed. So fix ang distance, you are just after of the denominator which is time in seconds. So feet per second will tell us pila ang speed ani nga vehicle nga nisulod og nigawas ani nga observation line. Okay. If you use speed gun, you can have it on the roadside, on top of a bridge, or maybe have it with use of a CCTV camera, no? Or kung nasa top sa bridge, maybe imong position para ma-target nimo ang usa ka sakyanan as you go from one point to the target point. Now, usually ang driver gyud kay ma-surprise man na siya sa inyo sa dalan kung naka sa roadside mo slow down na siya, so that becomes a bias to speed data. So you might as well make sure na dili kanila makit-an para dili sila mo slow down. Kaya ang purpose na nag-spot speed ka is tan-aw nimo pila gid ang normal speed aning mga sakyanan nga galabay aning nga road section. So imo checking bali kung pila gid ilang speed kasagara. But if it happens nga makit-an kanila and abi nila unsa na and then slow down sila, so mabias imong spot speed data. And that's the reason we avoid this kinds of situation nga dali kanila makit-an. So you might hide yourself or dili kay klaro ka, di ka obvious sa ilaha. And so therefore, they will be caught unaware na naaday data collection based on speed limit sa dalan. Okay, so this is the survey sheet. You are not supposed to get one type of vehicle, you get all. Whether it's a car, it's a pedestrian, bicyclist, na nagdagan ang nga dalan. So you get the speeds. And then you tabulate spot speed data. So when you tabulate, you also correspond to statistical evaluation. So na din kay summary sheet nga ihatod nimo sa maybe Office of the City Engineering or DPWH so that this data will be very important for the consideration for accident studies and speed limits on the road section. So makit-an din nimo karon hala na mga dalan nga 80 ra or 60 ang speed limit and yet kasagara day naglabay diha are overspeeding. So therefore, dali ra din nimo madakpan. Mo din ni accident prone siya nga area because daghan kayo ga speed up higher than the usual. And so therefore, because naman tay enforcement, so dakpo na to ang ga-violate sa violate sa speed limit nga atong giset. So this is a spatial analysis of data where most of the time you can see hotspot area where people are really overspeeding. Okay, so sa statistics, we show the profile, which is really important sa design for road network and speed limit setting. So we have, this is actually horizontal speed, and then moning mga percent, pila ka percent sa population nga naglabay ang kasagara inani ang speed. So for example, 85% of the people or the drivers driving on this road network, 85% of the time they are actually in a speed of 33 mile per hour. So that's a curved line, no? So kasagara day sila 33 ang speed nila sa dalan. Now, we are not only after 85th, no? So we usually get 85%, 60%, and 15%. So what is this? Ang 15% is the lowest value nga pinakahinay nga vehicle o grupo sa vehicle nga inana ra gyud ng speed ani nga dalan bisag highway siya. Then this is the highest wherein kaingon ka nga kasagara sa ila 85% of the time they are they are driving at this high speed maybe. And then 60% of the time morning majority average speed sa mga tao nga naglabay. So imo din na i-compare pila mo gibutang nga speed limit sa road karon kani existing. Hala, biyan man kay ang 85th. And then biyan pud siya sa 60th. So it would mean na more than 50% of the people who are driving on that area are overspeeding, di ba? Kasi it's 60% to 80-50% of the time. So you go back to your speed limit. And then you ask yourself, is this road safe for a 60% percentile? Kasi if it is acceptable at 60, then we increase our speed. Maybe from 50, allow ta og 60. Because everybody is still safe at 60%. But of course, the 85th will no longer be acceptable. Kay kani nga road is only good for 50 baya, pero gi-increase na nimo 60 mile per hour. So that means anybody beyond 60 nga imong gi-allow this time is actually apprehended for overspeeding. And then katong uban nga ubos kaayo, imos lang i-advise nga please speed up kay makapahinay ka sa movement sa motorist or the flow of traffic kung hinay kay imong sakyanan. So kung for example, kinsa man ning 15% ang speed, mo ni si bicycle, si tricycle, si motorela. So di na pwede ani nga roadway, no? They will be assigned to another road area. So you look at again kisa mga nanglabay ana nga sakyanan. So, the normal curve on statistics will tell us, kasagara, normally, mo niyang high speed, and then mo ni ang low speed. So, that's how you do normal curves of the speeds sa imong na survey sa highway. So, example of the data, you have vehicle, 1 to 30, no? 30 ka vehicle, mo ng mga speeds. So, you get the minimum speed sa grupo, maximum speed sa grupo, and then you minus, so you get the range, no? 56 km per hour ang range. So, i-grouping nimo ni sila, mag-group ka 55 to 60 until 110 to 115, get the mid class tunga-tunga sa 55 og 60 is 57.5. Pila ka book vehicle nga ni fall ang category of speed, so you total 30 man imong data, so you get the percentage accumulation and the deviation, so that you get arithmetic mean and standard deviation. So suma total again kung natay speed of vehicle kani siya kay 1 to 22, 1 to 40, 44 to 23, 45 to 66, and 86. Daghan kayo nino, 86 ka data points for speed. So what you have is a very nice speed class interval, class mid value, class frequency, percentile, cumulative, and the standard deviation. So that you'll be able to do your median, 50 percentile, cumulative 86 and 60% or 72 percentile, and the normal curve. Sabtan, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Adjust lang ha. I'll have to ask para sa data na ninyo. So far, walay question. Pag-ask mo, kay base na may question. Si Jeff. Okay. I think na naman ko yung data, so I'll just show the data. Let me see. Okay. Kita ninyo ang data?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, morning data sample, you are just going to do analysis based on profiling. Ha? Wala tayo calculation. So this is time, and this is day. No? Sa isa ka adlaw, 24 hours man. So, Monday has 24 hours, maybe 8 hours na data. So, then, naay buses, no? Na nag-aabot sa usa ka 1 hour period. And then, napoy tao nga sakay sa usa ka bus, so given 1 hour period. So say for example diri akong i-magnify, this is actually data on bus station, terminal, passenger, supply and demand of buses. So ano po na po, sige. Tapos na to. Okay. Good. So this is time. So now, between 4 to 5, notice ninyo, ang number of buses very low, kaya wala kay tao, no? And then, mo passenger nga magulat para mo sakay. Okay, so if you look at the formula, nay uban mag-ingon nga nag-wait kay maybe ang number of bus gisulod sa isa ka oras is isa ka buok, no? Isa ka buok sa isa ka oras. So nakasakay ang uban pero naay nag-waiting nga duha. So you need maybe additional bus or no bus. Siguro kay ang cut off man good before mag-additional bus is 30. Kung naay passenger nga nag-waiting nga 30, you are warranted to make another bus get into the bus station para ma-accommodate to nag-waiting na 30. So therefore, if tanaw ninyo, uy, daghan kay nag-waiting, nga nilabos sa 30, so you just get the value here para mahibaw-an nimo kung pilay iduga nga bus for that given time na 4 to 5 o'clock. Okay. So kang ang isa ka oras has kuan man no 60 minutes, so that means to say dili man siya magwarrant okay isa ka bus sa isa ka oras na upat nga nakasakay pero na upat duha nakaabot pero dugay siguro kay siya nakaabot sa isa ka oras no kay duha ra man ka buok, and so you do not need a bus kay mo siya naabot og 30, so you remain isa lang ka bus, and that means to say one bus per hour lang siya 60 minutes sabtan sabtan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, daw di ko mo increase ma'am, let's say dili kayo paningaw man siya nga area may dako ko kinsa gali nasugbo ni no may tatag ka nang wag busy kaayo. busy nga ruta. Let's say San Juan. San Juan. Hopefully na idako kay sa San Juan. Mingaw gyapon ang San Juan dili kay daghan. Let's have Cavite kay magdaghan do sa Cavite. Wala lagi Cavite diri. Wala siya yung number of tao sa peak time. Mingaw, Sunday, Tuesday, Monday. Kamay ra. Okay. Okay, so let's say this one, no? Kay murag nagwaran siya additional. Say for example din sa ka Monday, and then sa first hour wala kay kailangan nga tao kay walay tao nagulat. So isa ra gid ka ba sa isa ka oras 60 minutes imong waiting time kay wala may tao. But if you look at, let's say, nga modaghan ang pasayro, no? Let's say, kani siya alas 10 to alas 11, no? Ang imong gi-allocate kay duha ka bus. So, every 30 minutes siya, no? Every 30 minutes, na 30, alam butang. Every 30 minutes na kay bus, sa duha ka book bus. And ang imong napasulod nga pasahero is actually kana mga 23 ka buok. And then, na-notice nimo nga enough ra kay wala may nag-waiting. So, very good kayo, walay nag-wait. So, that doesn't warrant additional number of buses. So, that's a very good data. Dili ka kailangan magdugang og bus. So, balikon na ko, magdugang lang kag bus, kung tan-aw nimo na ay dako kay nga waiting passenger, kanyo waiting pack sa letter F. Mabot galin is tag 30 na you have to do something about it. Mag-additional bus ka, ibutang nimo pila na imong bag-ong time interval sa bus kung magdugang ka from the original, let's say 2 ka bus, dayon 27 ang kakasulod each sa bus. So enough ra daw bi kay paglakaw sa duha ka bus na ay nagulat nga 35. So that means na ay wala na serve, tama ba? Kay sa letter F na ay nag-waiting, no? So kani din duha ka bus karon kulang din ni siya kay paglarga sa duha nga nakasakay lang og 27 na dayon ni abot nga nagsabay-sabay 35. So kung 35 divide mo sa 30, that's already warranting one more bus, no? Tama ba? Tama ba, people?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Kung 35 divide by 30, so nakay 1 point something nga bus. So that means mag-additional kag bus din ni og 1. And because mag-additional kag bus og 1, ang total na din mo bus is 2 plus 1 bus becomes 3. So kung 3 siya, imong i-recommend na dayon nga for this time of the day, between 12 to 1 o'clock every Monday, you have to have at least 3 buses. And ang interval nila, dili na 15 minutes or 30 minutes each. It should be, what is 3 buses divided by 60? Every
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Oh. So, every 20 minutes nakaipasulod din nga bus so that ma-accommodate, ma-zero na din to imuhang queue din hi. Ay naka-accommodate lang. So, that's the purpose of this data. Question. Nasabtan? Nasabtan ba?
Yes, ma'am.
So with that, then ang mahitabo is I will give you a data, isa ka folder. Let's say this is a bus station directed to Lipa. Ang yan data is 1 month. This is June, 31 days. And then every Monday, for example, has sabi, let me see, until 22, alas 10 sa gabi ang biyahe. From alas 4 sa kadlawon to alas 10, no? Na siya mo na yung operation sa bus every Monday or every day sa isa ka buwan, and then sa next bulan mao gyapon. This is for Tanawan for I think this is May, and then the other one is June. Okay, very good. So, duha ka bulan inyo i-analyze each. You kindly show to me a very good representation of your analysis here. Ang premise ani nga question kay, kung ako ang operator sa bus, si Ma'am Annabel is operator, gusto ko makabalo unsay sitwasyon sa akong bus terminal station. Labi na ang route nga from Lipa to Tanawan sa Manila. So show to me the profile that will tell me inani ang sitwasyon sa imong bus every Monday, for the month of May, every June, every week, weekday nga traffic or weekend nga traffic, or pila ka bus ang average kailangan para masuplayan yun nga walay mag-waiting nga pasahero sa dalan, and enough ang bus nga nahatod sa serbisyo sa nanginahanglan nga bus sa dalan. Sabtan?
Yes,
Sabtan.
ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So, ang listahan ninyo, sige, listahan, this is the list, no? You have, ganina, kung i-mention, si Abunda, Alarcon, Arimao will have Villanueva. So, some of you will have triads to look a member, and some of you has 4 members in a group. So, you work for the entirety of the 2 data sets. So, I will assign, isa gali group leader din ni Mish, no? Ikaw, Mish? Michelle?
Sa unsa nga leader, ma'am?
Sa grouping niche, kay na may folder nga akong ihatag. Ang folder is, let me just check. So this is the folder I will share to you. So na section E3B, ano mo ninyong gamiton. So tagtulo, 3 times 3, pila gali? You have 3, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5. 5 times 3, ay sorry. Saba? Lagi, 5 times 3 is 15, di ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Sakto, Mish?
Yes, ma'am.
5 times 3 is 15. And then, ang atong total number of student is 20 ba to?
Yes, ma'am.
So, magdugang pa kog another bus. Sige. So, I'll have one more bus. So, mapili lang dayon, Mish. Make sure nila nga, walay duplicate ha, kay na may ruta. Nasugbo ang isa, San Juan, Tabaco, PIWI, and 3C. So, I'll add maybe Cavite, no? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pila ka books po ang grupo ang mahimo diay sa 20? 18, at least 6, no? 2, 4. Kulag lang isa ba? Isa na lang kabuok Cavite.
Sa group, ma'am.
So, every data, duha ka bulan, so you can analyze, pwede pie chart, table, basta you make the result interesting para ma-appreciate na ko inyong gibuhat. There's no limit to what you can declare as an answer to the profile that you want to showcase to me. I'll expect this on Tuesday next week afternoon. So each group is assigned to one area, so bus terminal, and then analyze 2 months of a data set in terms of passenger demand and supply of buses. Okay?
Asa ni butang, ma'am?
Akong i-open sa e-learn. Ako ihatag sa e-learn. Or i-email na ko ang link ani kaning data i-link na ko, but the rest I will place it in e-learn. Okay ra ba?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so ako ihatag ni Mish Daan ang link para at least ma-update na ninyo na maka-decide mo kung which one inyong gamiton. So pagsabot lang mo kay sa inyong team, kung naman ka book, 6 raman ka grupo, no? Sabot lang mo kay sa imong hawid sa San Juan, Nasugbo, anan. Okay, so mainly inyong buhaton is mag-analyze sa Excel, and after sa Excel, ibalhin inyong ang mga data nga results na nga graph, pie chart or table sa usa ka Word. I-submit din ninyo sa ako Excel and the Word file dito sa email address na ako. Kita ninyo akong email address?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is for student, no? aabuzo@gmail.com. Mish, ang ako rabing ginagamit for communication is ang Bobet, no? But for grades, I will have it here kay ginalink na ko ni siya sa akong e-learn. So please submit to this area. Now, isa lang kabuk mag-submit para sa grupo. So kindly write the name of your member sa group and then kinsa nagpadala, no? Labi na kay ang uban sa inyo kay gagamit og Exumail, hindi kay ko familiar sa kasi tag-iyaan nga Exumail ID. So please make sure either personal or Exumail ninyo pa at least kabalo kinsa ni siya. place the name para appropriately magaduhan ta mo based sa inyong grouping. Okay ba na siya?
Okay,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so palihog kog screenshot para makita daan. Wait lang ha. Okay, so makita ba? I-screenshot ninyo. Ana, okay ra? Okay ra?
Okay, ra, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
sige. Thank you everyone. So far, walay question. Okay, so I leave this as an assignment. Please follow the instruction na I will give to Michelle the link sa inyong assignment so that you can access diretso Mish for your members of the class grouping ang triad or quadrant ni mag-work. And then ang e-learn ako nang gi-open for lesson 1 to 4 so that you can access. And sa lesson 1 to 4 tuwa dito ang PowerPoint nga naka-PDF. And then, I will also give something like this. Palihog lang kong check ha. Kay basin matingala mo, if I give something like a PDF, it is a reading material based akong class. And then, usually maghatag ko og inani ang format. CE 52. Okay. So, usually, inani ako ihatag. Naka-folder siya. So, naana din ha, traffic volume inside is PDF. Reading materials ni siya. If I will have spot speed, reading materials gyapon ni siya. So, this is reference to sa gileson ako sa PowerPoint nga naka-PDF. So, this is PDF nga material for reading. Now, I will give you a handouts also. The handouts may look like this. So, example lang ni sa handouts ha. Okay, so example, bang akong handout sa road highway element. So, this is my handouts. It's actually a document. Ako i-PDF lang ni siya. So, naka-summarize akong discussion sa PowerPoint din. So, I'll give this to you as reference para sa class mismo. Kay basin mag-midterms ko nga na mga terminologies, no? So, this is handouts na ako. So, you will know fully handouts kay ako ang naghimo sa summary. Now, PowerPoint, ako naghimo sa PowerPoint with the PDF format. And sa Excel, usually maghatag kog Excel kung na ay calculation. So later, I will give that one pero di lang nako mapakuratan karon. So for now, you just do the assignment that I gave you so that maklaro na ako kung kabalo mo mag-analyze on your own without necessarily giving you restriction kung sa inyong ma-explore nga result sa analysis. So, show to me a very nice result so I will fully understand how your brain works when it comes to analysis. Okay ba na siya? Impress me, ha?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so that will be all everyone for the day. Mish, can we just one class picture for the attendance for the day?
Okay, ma'am.
Mag-stop na kog record, ma'am.
Ay, stop sa din ako akong record. Stop presenting. Ayun, so okay. Okay lang, sige lang, dili mo mag-ano kay hinay kay ang signal nagulan ni ko. Ha?
Wala akong screenshot, ma'am.
Okay, salamat kay Mish. Thank you kayo ha. I'll see you next week everyone. Mish, I'll see you next week para sa link Mish ha.
Okay,
Ang
ma'am.
record diya, i-share lang sa ilaha ang record ko. Thank you. Bye everyone. Stay
Thank
safe.
you,
Hi,
and
ma'am.
God
Thank you,
bless.
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.